morning. Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel for today's news and discussion. We're going to start today off with a story, a true life experience, and it comes to us from Yugoslavia. That picture at the top of this post is 90-year-old Stephen Ivičinec posing with a good portion of his life's savings of 1,200,000 Yugoslavian dinars. He and his wife, Kate, hoarded them for a rainy day, hidden away for years in cushions and pillows right there in their home. And then, in 2014, that rainy day finally arrived. As they sat listening to their son and his wife explain the dire situation they were in, desperate for even enough money for seeds to plant their fields, Stefan looked over at his wife and smiled and said, "Come now, Kate, bring a cushion and the scissors. See? They have come to the dark days we always feared, but were spared. Now you can finally see that it was good to listen to me and to save and not spend the money like you wanted." Stunned and in disbelief, his son and daughter-in-law held their breath as they watched him rip open his favorite cushion and pull out a bunch of the old Yugoslavian dinars. "What's wrong?" Stefan asked. "Not enough? If you need more, we'll just open another cushion. Don't worry, we'll never go hungry. We'll have enough seeds for the rest of our lives." Stefan and Kate had no idea that the dinars were now worthless, which was why they didn't understand the stunned look their generous offering brought. Their cash stash had once been worth about 50,000, I believe that's ducat. Of course, Yugoslavia broke up in 1991, and in 92 and 93 went through one of the worst bouts of hyperinflation in history, with a peak inflation rate of 313 million%. Here is the original Croatian article. "A friend of mine once told me that a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others." And unfortunately for Stefan, he's an example that we can learn from. I feel very bad for this gentleman's situation, for his family's situation, the wealth they lost, and the potential that they could have had if they had used that cash, that now worthless paper, those empty government promises. If they had used it at some point in time, or put it into precious metals or some other commodity, or a place to where they could hide it and store their wealth, but in maybe metal form, also hidden inside the couch or the cushions, away from government's prying eyes. Hope you enjoyed that little motivational stacking story, because that's exactly what that is for me anyways. Stories like that, real history, real experiences of real people that have gone through such a loss, is a lesson that I take quite seriously, and I'm not going to let that guy's life lesson go to waste. I'm going to adapt it to my own life, and hopefully you do as well. Let's move on and look at some charts, talk about, these things, all the important Dow milestones in one chart. So there's three slides here we're going to go through. The Dow closed above 20,000 for the first time on January 25th, 2017. Its second fastest ascent from 1,000 point milestone to the next. Here you can see the 1995 to 2016 milestones hitting at market close. You can see from 96 there to about 2000, just a flurry of milestones. And then a brief period in 2006, 2008, right prior to the major crash of 08. You see the 12, 13, and 14,000 marks getting hit. And now as we move to more recent times, we see the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, all fairly close together as the Dow makes record ascent, reaching the highest levels in its history. It's definitely not the time to be getting in for the first time or to be a buyer, in my opinion. That's just my non-professional, non-expert opinion here. Key dates, let's look at October 28th to 29th, 1929. The Great Crash, Black Monday and Black Tuesday, sees the Dow plunge more than 23%. The devastating crash is a signpost of the Great Depression. Then we move to November 23rd, 1954. The Dow finally surpasses its pre-crash peak, so it took quite a while to recover. November 14th, 1972. The Dow finishes above 1,000 for the first time, a move the New York Times likened to the breaking of the 4-minute mile. January 8th, 1987. Dow takes over 14 years to move another 1,000 points to hit the 2,000 milestone. October 19th, 1987. Black Monday. Dow plunges 508 points, or 22.6%, in global market crash, marking the average's largest one-day percentage decline. April 17th, 1991. The Dow quietly surpasses 3,000 as U.S. exits recession. November 21st, 1995. The Dow tops 5,000 for the first time, heralding the intense market rally that would define the late 1990s. March 29th, 1999. Amid spectacular hype, the average crosses the 10,000 barrier. March 9th, 2009, the Dow ends a 12-year low, marking the bottom of the market rout that accompanied the Great Recession. May 7th, 2013, the Dow finishes above 15,000 for the first time as post-financial crisis recovery continues. January 25th, 2017. Dow crosses 20,000 for the first time, continuing a post-election rally that drove major indexes to a string of new records. You look at the chart, you look at the behavior, you look at the volume and frequency, all the different facts that make up what's going on in the financial markets right now in the casinos of Wall Street. And you really wonder how these people have any ability, any sober, rational, and logical way to ever accuse gold of being in a bubble. Ever. It's just, it's amazing how they actually can make those accusations with a straight face sometimes. And then, even looking at the behavior of Bitcoin amidst all of this. I don't want to open up that can of worms again, but just interesting that it's making these records and leaps and bounds and what's taking place there. Well, eventually, as I've said before, it'll all unfold as it should. We will see something occur, and when this all settles out, there will be winners and there will be losers. And if the currency does what most fiat currencies do eventually, it really won't matter what the gains are in the stock market if they're denominated in dollars. If you pull it out, you have your 401k, your Roth IRA, your pension, any of that. It's going to be held in the currency of the realm, the US dollar. So a lot of this hinges upon your dollar exposure, or whatever currency you're exposed to and whatever nation you live in. You are exposed to that currency and the risks and any promises that that government has made. You don't want to end up like Stefan. Even if you pull your money out or you have some cash piled up somewhere, it's stuck in an account somewhere, a large amount of paper. The last thing you want to do is even see it eroded slowly through inflation. That's the one thing that Warren Buffett says that I absolutely agree with. He goes, if you're holding cash, it's on fire every day. It's burning, it's being destroyed. The last thing you want to do is be sitting on piles of cash like old Stefan here. If anything, he could have bought a piece of land with it, some real estate or rental, locked it up somehow into some other place where it wasn't hinging upon the promises and faith in government, because look where that got him. Look at the face on this poor 90-year-old Yugoslavian man. Probably worked his entire life. That's his life savings. And it literally did what fiat currencies do. It went to zero. But, oh, this can't happen to you. Oh, no, I'm in euros. That's never going to happen. That can't happen because I'm in euros. Or, oh, that's never going to happen because, I'm in the pound sterling. I live in the UK, and their promises are great. It's never going to happen. Or I'm in the US dollar. It just can't happen. US government's got nuclear weapons, and we'll just blow somebody up if they try to come, claim the debt and make us pay it back. We're America. America. It just doesn't work like that. The rules of economics are pretty sound. It's almost like gravity. All right, if you jump off a cliff, you're going to fall. And well, we're all heading towards a fiscal cliff. And economic gravity is a reality. And the currency that you're tied to is going to make you fall. You could get a parachute made out of precious metals. As we move through the news now, some headlines. Looks like Macy's needs to close 100 more stores, former retail exec says. Handful of department stores report earnings Thursday and Friday, including Macy's, Kohl's, and JCPenney. One retail expert says these retailers aren't doing enough to grow their businesses as competition intensifies online. Macy's, for example, should close 100 more of its stores to cut costs. Jan Niffen tells CNBC. I'm always entertained by the little brief news snippets that I digest at times regarding these disgusting, useless, absolutely non-productive, don't create or do anything apps and internet companies and their stock performance and how they're actually able to sucker people into giving them money to do nothing other than somewhat try to create the facade that they provide advertising. So here's one, Snap, and I wasn't too familiar with it. I have heard of it before, and apparently it's that app where you can take a picture and send it to someone and then it disappears in a certain period of time, which I don't understand the function or use of that. So it says Snap, underwriter Goldman Sachs defends social network as a unique asset as shares cater. Definitely a unique asset. So this Snap app, this program, whatever, what have you, we'll take a look at the chart here in a moment, but its stock price just plummeted. Apparently there was a disastrous first report. Wall Street's increasingly worried that Facebook is crushing Snapchat, and all Facebook does is sell information and advertise to ignorant, bored people. Kramer states that the arrogant Snap CEO Spiegel should take his advice and get some humility, saying humility is a fabulous thing. I don't know what the Snap CEO said. Well, here's a look at the chart from this morning, hanging out around 1843. It was up, looks like they're about $23 a share earlier this morning, or within the last 24 hours anyway. And it went from 23 down to just about 18, you see now. And the high, 52-week high, was 29.44. So one has to wonder how long a company like this can even exist. As technology evolves, as people's habits and needs change, where could a company like this possibly go with an app that its only purpose is for selfies and the 15-minute mindset culture? Well, eventually people are going to grow up, or eventually people are going to get bored or sick of using these apps that feed on people's narcissism and really don't do anything for the planet or any good service whatsoever. It'll be nice to see it go to zero and just dissolve, disappear, vanish, turn into the vapor that it actually is. So moving on. We'll take a quick peek at gold around the world. There you see it, 1225.84 in US dollars. Looks like it's finally pulling off those lows we saw earlier in the week. Here we go in the euro, 1,127.65. And then we've got the Canadian dollar, 1682.59. The Australian, 1666.05, 1,666. And British pounds, we see it at 951.42. 951 pounds per ounce of gold Troy. You can see that low there as gold pulls off of it and finally gets away from that 12.16 range, 12.15 range, well above 12.20 now, breaking 12.25 this morning. If you're like me, you're somewhat disappointed seeing it pull up like this because you were hoping it would stay a little bit lower, a little bit longer, giving us the opportunity to gobble up more gold at those manipulated lows. I welcome them when they decide to dump the price of gold on us, and only for a head fake and to make it look like their currencies and their markets are doing better than they actually are. So keep doing it, keep manipulating the price lower, please. I'd be happy to purchase gold at the 1100 mark anytime you ETF buffoons feel like putting it there. So thank you for that. And silver doing similar activity, pulling off that low. Pretty hard to believe. I can't believe it actually made it down to almost 1606, right above the 16 mark there. And then here we are breaching 1629 this morning. So silver also pulling off of those lows from earlier this week. But again, I encourage them to drive it lower. I'd be happy to be buying silver at $14 an ounce again, or 13 or 10. Heck, let's rewind it. Let's go back to 2008 or 9. Let's get that $8 and $9 silver. While we're at it, I'll buy a whole lot of it at that price range. That would be great. So, anyways, that's gonna wrap up today. Not a whole lot of groundbreaking, earth-shattering news and information, but it was fun to discuss. And I think the first lesson, the first discussion we held with old Stefan over there in Yugoslavia should really sink in. You know what? If you can, rewind it, go back to the beginning, and just listen to his story one more time. And here's your homework. I think we all should have homework sometimes, even as adults. Tell somebody else about Stefan. Share the story of Stefan with somebody you know. Surely there's somebody in your life that's hoarding piles of cash or has very much of their wealth in an exposure to a particular currency. Now, it could be over there in the UK, you might have somebody you know that's, just unhealthily exposed to the pound sterling. Other people in Europe, you might know people who are dramatically exposed, overexposed to the euro. And we know that the euro is not going to do that well going into the future. It's falling apart. Some predict less than 5 years it won't even exist. So keep that in mind if you have couch cushions stuffed full of euro notes. And then if you're over here in the United States, think the same thing. You have piles of green Federal Reserve notes with government promises written on them. And what could you be doing differently with that pile of cash? All right, there you go. Thanks for tuning in to the Junius Maltby channel. Again, please continue to like, share, and subscribe. And if you can, support the channel when you feel like it and when you can by stopping by Patreon and becoming a patron of this channel. Thank you very much. Have a great day.